Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. We have the great pleasure of having Supervisor Gary Tofanelli here. It's been a long time since we've actually sat down and done an interview like this, hasn't it?
It's been a long time, John. It has. It's been a number of years. You and
I was thinking when I was just starting the Pine Tree, and you were running for supervisor's office. We did an interview at his house at the table in your backyard. Do you remember that?
By the pool, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That's been getting close to 15 years ago.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while.
And you haven't aged at all.
Oh, sure, John. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey.
Now you're settling in there. This is your, was it third term?
Third term.
Third term.
Yes.
Yeah. State of the county. Is the county doing well? I mean, is overall, because you've seen some rough patches and stuff, but I mean,
I have seen some
good?
rough times, but I will say this: yes, right now the county is doing very well.
Good.
And there's a lot of good people working very hard,
right.
and not only at the county level, but I'm a member of COG,
yes,
which is the Calaveras County Council of Governments, which has to do with projects that are road oriented, transportation oriented in the county. And we've been very lucky. I was on COG before, and then I was back on COG for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And we've been very lucky in the fact that through the city and through the turnover of supervisors, we've been able to maintain pretty much the same board. And it's very important to do this, especially at the COG level, because it takes a while and quite a while for someone to understand what's going on with COG and the terminologies and how it operates and what it does. And so with what's happening now, it's a very, very good board that understands, and we're getting projects completed.
Got it.
And to name a few is right here in San Andreas. Caltrans is going to be doing through COG and us dealing with them. Dennis Agar is a very good guy. He's current District 10 director. We are going to see them next year come through and pave through St. Charles Street, Highway 49 through there. They paved everywhere up to it, but they had such a crown on it, they couldn't pave it. They're going to have to grind it down and redo it, and they're going to be putting new sidewalks in, and curbs in, and more crosswalks in, and having a conversation with Robert Packinger this evening. We've had what they call Rule 20A, which is money set aside through PG&E to fund like underground cables and stuff going underneath there. So we're looking at putting anything overhead on that project underground and putting light poles up outside San Andreas.
That'll be nice.
So you start seeing next year some improvements down St. Charles. And that's through COG and that COG board moving that forward.
For people who are not familiar with COG, in essence, isn't it just basically many counties have something equivalent? It's kind of the container that the transportation money flows to, right? I mean, because lots of times
state and federal dollars go, and it was set up and mandated that way, and it's throughout everywhere because when the money, state and federal tax dollars, road money was coming to counties or cities or wherever, it was going everywhere else but where it was supposed to be going. But this way, it flows through COGS. The project goes through COGS, and we go out through the county, or some projects we do on our own, but mostly it's through the city. Because the city has 2 members on it. The Board of Supervisors has 2 members, and then there's public members on it. So we have a board of 7.
Question, and a blunt question that we get sometimes at the Pine Tree is, they'll complain about transit, at Calaveras. Why does it exist and all that? But I try to tell people, it's like, well, the problem, every county has to have some type of a transportation infrastructure, or you won't get the money for other stuff, right? So basically, that's one of those things that needs to exist.
We in California are mandated to have public transportation. And I will say this, since COVID struck, the COG is in charge of the CTA, California Transit Agency. All bus fares are free. And this will last all the way until January 1st.
So fare box recovery is not really going to be an issue.
They got rid of fare box during the COVID.
Okay.
So we were able, and we got some funds for them to be able to do this.
Right.
So yes, you can ride free up until January 1st of next year, and then it'll be some increases coming, but small increases at a time. So it's not all of a sudden boom.
Yeah.
But yes.
I just want because sometimes people don't, because people complain about, but an entity like the COG has to legally exist for a container to put the money into to distribute for transportation.
Correct. To make sure that's what it was spent on.
Because people have no, like, what's this Council of Governments thing?
It's mandated. That's every county and city has to be part of one in order to get their state, federal dollars.
The good one, though, is that this is kind of those multi-generational or in some ways multi-lifetime projects. Wagon Trail project. Wagon Trail project.
Right? I am very happy and very proud. As you know, I've been involved in the Wagon Trail project since the beginning in 2008.
Yeah.
And very, very good news. Amanda Follendorf and myself spoke at the Transportation Council, California Transportation Council, several months ago.
Yeah.
And they awarded us $22 million for this project.
Wow.
And it's a two-phase project, and we now are fully funded for the first phase of the project, and we had bids come in, and actually very good news that we were $4 million under the engineer's estimate for that phase.
Nice.
So we are moving forward with that. It looks like we're going to be starting next year, early spring, March, and that project will last for the first phase. It's supposed to finish in 2024. It's not going to happen overnight because there's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Right.
But by 2024, that phase will be done, and then we'll move on to the second phase. And we're in a position right now because of what's happened when Amanda and I talked to the commission. We told them we were shovel ready, and basically we were shovel ready. And it looks like we're moving forward. So we're not parking that and sitting on it because of everything not going right. So we're moving. So that's good when we go before them for the second phase and say, hey, we did this. We've done what we said we were going to do. We're going to do this for the second phase. We're ready to go. And we would like to have the funding for that. It's a little bit longer and more difficult stretch.
Right.
Look, the estimates for that's about $50 million. But we are lobbying at the federal level in Washington, D.C. through Mia O'Connell, who is our lobbyist for the county, for some of the funds that's going to be distributed if it ever gets to that point.
Right.
And it looks like we have some favorable avenues there to have that funding in hand to go forward with it. So it's very, very good news. And again, that's through COG.
Yeah.
And I'd say Robert Packinger stepped up to the plate. We appointed him department head in Public Works, and he is on this. He's done a great job, him and his staff, moving this project forward. And my hat's off to that department right now.
For people like the phases of it, is it basically one side of Pool Station and then the other side of Pool Station, or how is it? How are the phases working?
The phases it's kind of difficult to say, but it will be just outside Copperopolis, going up to I'm trying to think of the name of the bridge. There's a bridge about
that little tiny one that you kind of
Caltrans on their own had plans to repair that and redo that bridge and widen it.
Right.
So at the same time we're doing our function for this first phase, they'll be widening that bridge, so they'll be ready to go and connect into for the second phase.
Okay.
And on into Angels.
Yeah.
The city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went down there. It looks like CalTel's starting. Are they already starting to move their infrastructure away from the right of way? Are they moving? Is that?
That's going to start. There's already some utility work. PG&E's involved, and other utilities that are relocating.
Already starting to see
on that path. So when we're ready to start construction, that all underground will be done.
Yeah.
So we're ready to go. And again, we were talking earlier about underground. That all of the light poles and stuff, that should all be underground moving forward with PG&E.
Which should even help some of the fire issues.
Correct.
For that particular area, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So. Very cool. No, that people have. I mean, I was only partially joking when I was saying this is a multi-lifetime project, but I mean,
it's moving forward, and I tell you, it seemed like a long time for me because I know I've been involved in it. But now, recently, because of the situation, the great people that are involved in it now, and COG, and I've got to tell you, my hat's off to, and I really appreciate the hard work and just the way Amber Collins, our executive director of COG, has developed relationships with Caltrans and other people that are involved in transportation. She's just doing a great job.
Good.
And the board is behind her, and things are moving well for COG. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the people that are involved in it.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, even in Public Works, because there was a time in Public Works that there was problems, even though COG was ready.
Right.
We couldn't move forward.
Yep.
Everything's moving smoothly on a lot of different projects. Not only that, there's some other projects here in San Andreas, Pope Street project, and in Valley Springs, to the Valley Springs area school, and some underground work going on there. I was talking to Robert about that today also. So yes, there's a lot of things that are very good for the county, and I anticipate, hopefully, if things go well, we will be in place with funding for that second phase. Because once that opens up, as you know, it's a very dangerous stretch of highway, and it limits the amount of people that travel up here to use our facilities, to go to Murphy's, or even go to Bear Valley to ski. They'd rather go up 50 or 88 and go around. But when we make this highway safe, then it will open that door up, and we will be seeing a lot of tax dollars coming in. So.
Nice work. No, I mean that sincerely, because getting this one across, or at least to the starting line, it seemed like it's been one of those projects. If you follow local gov, it's like, oh yeah, it's the wagon trail project. It's just
it was for a long time, but the players had changed, and I think that was one of the major stepping stones. With the players that had changed, and the COG board being in place the way it is. So
now the other big issue for tonight. Rumor has it that you kicked Stanislaus County out of Mountain Valley EMS, and you want the whole thing yourself. Is that the whole? I'm just kidding.
Well, that's a good rumor. Did you start that? Thanks, John.
Tell us, Mountain Valley EMS, for those, because most people may not even know what it is, but it's a very important organization. It's kind of analogous to a COG type of thing in some ways.
It's a JPA. Yeah. And it's a JPA between 5 counties at this point, and has been since 1998. Actually before that, but it became a 5-county in 1998 when Calaveras joined it. And there's a lot of reasons we joined it. We gave up the ambulance service at that time. We split up the fire departments. And we would have to have a huge amount of money on hand just to be able to provide ambulance service.
Right.
And what Mountain Valley EMS is a JPA between Stanislaus County, Alpine County, Mariposa County, Calaveras County, and Amador County.
Right.
And when I say JPA, that's a Joint Powers Authority that provides most important medical services to those 5 counties, including the ambulance service.
Right.
And you may say, if you live in Ebbets Pass area, our ambulance service is provided by Ebbets Pass. That's absolutely correct. However, they have a contract through Mountain Valley EMS. All of the providers of ambulance service and air service have contracts through this agency for all 5 counties. And also what Mountain Valley EMS does is those EMTs or paramedics that are on those ambulances, depending on what level of emergency it is, they are all certified through Mountain Valley EMS. They cannot be on that ambulance or provide any service without being certified, and usually it's every 2 years. It's supposed to be every 2 years. And not only do we provide that certification, we provide update classes and training for all of those. So anything that updates, we bring them up to date so they can recertify at the standards that are at today.
Right.
We certify the area hospitals for their level of trauma, beginning from level 1 to level 3.
So you guys handle that as well?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have a doctor that oversees all that and actually makes sure that everything is done right and checks on them all the time. Unfortunately, what's happening now in what you were saying is Stanislaus County has been wanting to withdraw from it and go on their own for at least the last 3 years. And this year, they signed a letter because of the way the JPA agreement is. You have to give a 180-day notice, and you have to give it by January 1st. They have written a letter saying they will be withdrawing on June 30th, 2022. And it affects everybody here in not only our county but the other 4 counties, because our hospitals are only level 1 trauma.
Yes.
So most everybody that gets a stroke or a heart attack or gets a trauma that's above level 1, we transport them to Modesto area hospitals because Stanislaus was in our LEMSA. And so it's going to take away, we have to have new contracts with that now. I mean, some people will be metaflighted to Davis if they're burned or it's different areas, but most of the major traumas goes to the Modesto area hospitals, which is part of Martin Valley EMS under contract.
A question. Yes. I know the separation process, I think, will probably a little painful, not painful, but, but is there going to be any good outcomes? I mean, is there a way to, because I mean, now that the counties that are left in it, I mean, they're all rural counties they face similar problems, right? Isn't that
There's several issues with that, and I'm working with Terry Woodrow, who has been on Mountain Valley longer than I have.
Right.
I've been on Mountain Valley. I was on it for 4 years prior, and I've been on it for the 5 years I've been back.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience with it. The issues that we're facing right now with what's happening, and there's a lot of things going on, but because we get a grant, because we're a LEMSA, and it's a local emergency medical service agency, is what a LEMSA is, and we're recognized by the state, we're registered by the state. We get funding through state and federal dollars, and it's based on population.
Which we don't have.
Well, we got a lot more than Alpine does. And they have a tremendous amount of population there, and basically what the grant is from the state is basically only 44 cents per person. So that amounts to us contributing about 20,000. Amador's at about 15,000. Mariposa's about 9,000. And Stanislaus is about 250,000, and Alpine's like $500.
Right.
But that's just what the local funding is. There's other things that add into that's going to play to us on our funding, because for all the contracts we have for the providers, the ambulance providers, we get paid for every trip that they make, and they take in money and bill to your health provider or whatever for any transportation. We get money for them for that. And if you look at the population and the number of ambulances, a lot is taking place in Stanislaus. We won't have that funding available. And there's about, through AMR, who's a major provider there, there's about $500,000 right there that we will be losing funding. Our currently, in our last budget, we had a $1.6 million budget, and about 1.1 million was in salaries. We have about 10 employees there. And we still would put money into a reserve. We have a reserve of about 1.5 million. Fortunately, when Stanislaus leaves, the way the JPA agreement is written, they can't touch any of that money. It will stay with Mountain Valley MSA because it's our property. And all of the assets that belong to it.
I wish most divorces were that way. It'd be cleaner, right? If you leave, you don't know.
We would be on the other end. But anyway, it is. They don't have any. They can't take anything with them.
Right.
Our offices have been located since 1998 in Stanislaus County at Modesto. Those offices are going to be moving. Obviously, we won't stay in Modesto. I'm looking at having, and the board's pretty much agreed, of having it moved to Calaveras County, because we're pretty much central with Mariposa, right. Alpine, yep. Amador. Mm-hmm. We're central, and it's easier for people to come here. So we're going to be, probably our office will be located here. We have several things to go through with Stanislaus' departure on some contracts for providers and things like that. But I'm looking optimistic about it, that we will smoothly transform
yeah.
into that. Yeah. Terry and I have been meeting with our council, EMS, Mountain Valley EMS Council, and the current executive officer there on making a smooth transition so we don't lose anything.
Now, some of these,
but it's going to be based on funding,
here, right? Aren't there some of the?
No, most of our staff is live in Stanislaus.
Okay,
either Turlock or Modesto. We did have one person.
That's what. Yeah.
It was Lance Doyle, who was the executive director at the
right.
time. At one point. But we're trying to make it very smooth. It's going to depend on funding. Obviously, we have this reserve that we can fall back on, but that won't last,
yeah.
a whole long time. So
it'll buy you a year.
Yeah. So we're looking at other things. Obviously, our contracts with our providers provide money too, not just AMR, but the AMR, because of the size they are and the amount of service in Stanislaus, Modesto, Turlock, and all those cities, is a major chunk of it. But we still, with American Legion and Emmets Pass, and we actually have a contract with Copper Fire, we bring in some money, and the MT certification brings in money, and several other things that we do brings in money. But we are working to Terry and I very hard and diligently to make a smooth transition so nobody notices anything that's going on.
Yeah.
But the one of the main things, I'm not so worried too much about the ambulance service or the air service, but it's maintaining the monitoring of them, because all of them are under contract that their show up time has to be within, or their response time has to be within a certain envelope, and the monitoring of that, and having somebody hired to do that, and the executive director obviously will be a multitasked person, be able to do a lot of different things. But I'm not sure. 10 employees. I would like to keep all of them. They're all very loyal employees. And if we can do it, we certainly will. But we have to look at what's going on. And part of the issues that are going on right now is Stanislaus is saying they're going to offer those employees a job in their EMS system, which is fine. They can do that. I mean, that's the way jobs are. You get an offer and weigh it between what you have now, and if it's any better, you take it. But they're not going to start doing that until, my understanding, because our attorney had meetings with them last week, until January or February. Well, they're leaving in June. Depending on what employees decide to move to Stanislaus, we have to recruit. And the recruitment period for the specialized jobs, it could take a while to do that. And that's kind of the headache that Terry and I are going through right now. And we have a Mountain Valley MS meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's a Zoom meeting. Our board will be discussing that, because it's a very difficult issue on what's going to transpire with the employees to man the new office that we're going to have to make sure everything stays smooth. But it could affect everybody in all 4 counties that are left for this. Although we are looking to recruit 2 other counties, I can't say their names at this time, but there's some interest from them once Stanislaus leaves to join this But they're mountain area counties. They're like us. They don't have a tremendous amount of population
Right.
like Stanislaus County has, a couple million, whatever it is.
Right.
5 million or something.
So then you might have a contiguous geographic region, so to speak.
We could.
Yeah.
Very well.
But I mean, in some ways, because these rural counties, we all have similar problems. I mean, we have different problems than Stanislaus County has.
We do, and that's part of the reason why they've wanted to leave, because their situations are different than ours, and they feel being tied to it. They're at a point now, because interesting enough, a gentleman by the name of Richard Murdoch, who used to be Mountain Valley's executive director, and they hired him to be their OES. Their sheriff's the OS director there, but he works for the OS, and their fire marshal. And he's going to take over their EMS program. He has the experience to do it.
Right.
So, they've set themselves up because they're a large amount of people, and they want to oversee their own contracts. Right now, things have to go through, Mountain Valley EMS, and so.
A question, because of our population base is lower, but with the tourism draw that we have here, sometimes our utilization numbers won't always match up to our population base. I mean, has that affected us negatively or positive as far as the grant, funding from the government?
No, it hasn't affected us in one way or another. All right. Not at all. So what's really affecting us right now, and it has been for a while, although you haven't heard much about it up here, you hear more about it down in Stanislaus, is COVID and ambulances going to drop people off and having to wait, and because they have to drive all the way back up here to get back into service, that's where the major part of is really affecting us.
It's messing up the infrastructure a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately enough, now we have some software that allows us. Before the last couple of years, we've overcome it, but before we had no way of knowing where they were until they got back to their point of service, and then they would call and say, "We're back.
You're in the county line. We're in the county line.
Yeah, you can dispatch us." Now we have GPS on them, and we can track them, and we can send them if they dropped out, and we know they're moving back to the county. We can say, "Hey, there's a call in Copper. Go straight to Copper. You're the closest one available, and you'll get within the response time."
So once you get to Milton Road, you're ours.
So it is what it is. It's happening everywhere.
Right.
But it's happening everywhere, affecting more in rural counties a little bit, simply because of the length of drive. When you're in a city, or you're in Modesto, or what have you, and you're at that hospital, and you're back out once you drop the patient off. So
we're down to our last minute, so but I know we need to tie things up. Well, I guess we're down there, but want to say thank you, because I know lots of times from following governmental stuff, you're tackling like this the EMS. Those are real. I mean, it's not that's not just a show.
No,
it's real work.
It's real.
Yeah, and thank you for tackling it. I mean that sincerely, and
thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much, John.
We'll have to do this.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, we'll have to do this within the next 15 years, right? So that way.
Yeah, right. Sure. Right.
Thank you.